So, Superman debuted on Supergirl tonight. I'm a big enough Superman fan that I own both this poster and I named my daughter Chloe after the character Chloe on the show Smallville, which is a show about, well, Superman. That should tell you everything you need to know about me and how excited I was about this episode. Let's talk about it. So before we get to the main attraction and talk about Superman on the show Supergirl, I should probably give you some context and tell you what I think about the show Supergirl. Overall, it's good enough. I find the cast charming, it has enough action, the setup and the scenarios make enough sense, there's enough references that it is good enough for me. But like most of these superhero shows, it's injected with so much like relational nonsense and garbage that nobody wants in these shows, but they put in all of them, that it's extremely annoying. I mean, in the very first episode of this show, they introduced the friend that's in the friend zone, and they introduced Jimmy Olsen, who is now cool and like a ladies' man. And you can see the love triangle formed in the very first episode of the show. And it's just as annoying as you'd expect it to be. Beyond that, because they're going for the spectacle and the action with a character that has larger than life powers and that can fly around and battle gigantic things, the special effects don't look all that great. I don't mind them. I don't really say that as a criticism for me, but for you, they might bother you. Like, I literally watch them and think to myself, this looks like special effects that I can do in After Effects. The way they do freeze frame and like gravel lifting up off the ground, it looks like stuff you can do in After Effects, and I don't really know all that much about After Effects, but I can do some cool stuff with it, and that's what this show looks like for me. With all that said, what do I think about this episode? Well, if you take Superman out of it, it's good enough, it's enjoyable enough, but kind of forgettable, and it has a little bit too much of the relational melodrama garbage. Running throughout the whole thing, there's a subplot about Kara going on a date, and it's the worst. It is an extreme example of what I hate about the way they do these relationships. They take two characters and they tease them getting together, and maybe you want it, maybe you don't. They get together, and as soon as they get together, they're like, no, we're going to pull them apart. That's exactly what they do in this episode. It's what they did in Smallville. It's what they do on Arrow. It's what they do on The Flash. It's unbelievably frustrating. It's cliche. It's not clever. And everybody complains about it. And then they do it on every single one of these superhero shows. It's excruciating to watch. Beyond that, this episode has so many plots going, it just feels like they went, we need to set up all of these things and resolve all these things, and we need to prove to people that we're on the CW, but that doesn't mean that the show's going to suffer. It's just as big as ever, even though we're on the CW, so let's all cram it into one episode. You've got them kind of trying to resolve the cliffhanger that was the setup at the end of last season, the cliffhanger. They're introducing Superman. They've got Cat Grant harassing Kara. They've got Kara going on a date. They've got this guy that they're trying to figure out who he is. There's a plot line about someone trying to be killed. All of this kind of mashed up into one story that each of the elements in and of themselves, besides the dating stuff, works. There's just a lot of plot kind of crammed into one episode, and the pieces don't fit together. There's no like one central theme really throughout the episode. It's just a bunch of plot points crammed together, but written good enough besides the dating crap. But Superman is in the episode, so all of that is kind of foolish to say. He's at the center line of the story, and he's very pleasant when he's on screen. I would argue that Superman is the archetypical, the most iconic comic book character of all time. Now, if you've seen some of my past videos, I was pretty skeptical of this casting choice for Superman for a few reasons. First off, he looks kind of like a vampire. When I think Superman, I don't think vampire, so I was kind of skeptical of that. Second off, he's not a real big guy. He's fit, but he's shorter than me and not like big and bulky, and so right off the bat, he's not the image I think of when I think of Superman. I do want my Superman to be iconic as a human being just in his physical stature. Third, the character on the show is supposed to be 12 years older than Kara, and this actor is 1 year older than Kara and looks 1 year older than her. That creates some continuity issues. In the episode, they address that. They explain why that is, but they give an excuse that really basically go, okay, so why is Kara aging? And does this mean that Kara's going to stop aging in this episode? If the show runs for 10 years, is she going to look exactly like she does in this episode based off the logic given in this episode? I didn't buy it. It felt a lot more like this is the CW and they cast people in their 20s that are attractive to star on these shows. So that's what it seems like more so than, well, according to our continuity, actually, Kryptonians age slowly. I don't buy it. I think you wanted to cast a guy this age for the role, therefore that's what you did. With all that said, I thought he did a great job, and I really enjoyed the portrayal in this episode and what they did with it. At the same time, I think it's kind of funny to portray Clark Kent looking like this in the year 2016. Because if you go to the barbershop to get your hair cut, they put big posters on the wall, and you see 30 pictures of guys that look like this. You turn your TV to a different station to watch another random show, and you see a guy that looks like this. You look up a picture of this random guy here on the internet. Oh, that's me. And he kind of looks just like this guy. This is just what everybody looks like. The Clark Kent look with these types of glasses, with that haircut, that's just trendy and stylish right now. So it's kind of funny if you try and do a traditional Superman, you end up looking just like everybody else on every TV show that's a guy that has glasses. Oh well, that's what happens these days. Moving beyond the superficial about his height, his weight, and his look with these glasses, the characterization is really the characterization that people have wanted of a Superman for a while now that you did not get in Man of Steel. I enjoyed the Zack Snyder movies for what they were, but it's not the Superman that we actually, most of us, have wanted. In this TV show essentially took the criticisms of Superman from that, the angry, the brooding Superman that doesn't save people's lives and that's mopey and doesn't take joy in it, and they just flipped it. It's like they took that list of criticisms and made the opposite of it as the most distinctive characteristics of the Superman. So right off the bat, both Clark Kent and the Superman don't stop smiling the entire episode. It's almost distracting how much he's smiling. When he saves people, he pauses to wink at them and smile at them and shake their hand. When he meets the military organization, he pauses to awkwardly say, "I really appreciate you guys and I thank you for all of your service." Just like these very Superman-esque polite type gestures. During the big battles, he pauses to make sure that he's blocking bullets from hitting random people. They pause to do the exact thing that the Zack Snyder movies never do. I tweeted out on my Twitter account and on my Facebook account, I said, like 5 minutes into him being in the episode, I think that this Superman has done more Superman-esque things than Superman did in Man of Steel and Batman vs. Superman combined. This is the characterization of Superman that you've wanted that you haven't been getting in Superman movies for a while now. With all that said, I can't really say that this actor's giving a great performance because it's so one note up to this point. It's not like there's been a whole lot for him to do to show his acting range. I don't know if he's great or if he's just good at smiling and being likable and cute and charming as a nice guy, but he does that one note well. I don't know if he has more to him than that. To bookend what I said earlier, this is probably my favorite episode of Supergirl thus far, and probably the most memorable episode of Supergirl thus far, simply because they included Superman, who's a character that I absolutely love, and I thought they got him right with what they did with him in this episode. I really enjoyed it, and I'm gonna be honest, if they took this actor that I've been criticizing and make videos about how much I don't like this casting, and they gave him a show, I would be all over it. I would be very excited if they announced that, or when they announced that, I will be very excited about it, assuming they continue down the path they're going thus far. So with all that said, what did you think about this portrayal of Superman? Do you like your Superman smiley or brooding? Tell me in the comment sections, because I don't want to just talk about Superman. I want to talk about Superman with you in the comment section. Thank you so much for watching this video, and if you've enjoyed what I've had to say, please consider clicking that subscribe button to get my future videos right there in your feed. Thank you much.